begin our city council meeting, as always, with a prayer and a pledge. For those that would like to join me in that prayer, please bow your heads. Gracious Father, we thank you for this opportunity we have to serve the citizens of this community. We ask you to be with us tonight as we deliberate the city business. We ask that you be with all our residents, be with all our city workers, and keep them safe and in your will. We ask this in your name. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated.
Yeah, we do.
Madam Clerk, roll call.
Councilmember Milne and Councilmember Tibbs are both excused. Councilmember Bench.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Clark.
Here.
Councilmember Moore.
Present.
Councilmember Bryant.
Present.
Councilmember Balls.
Present.
Councilmember Humphries.
Here.
Mayor Browning.
Here.
We have 7 members present, 2 absent.
Thank you. And for the audience, at this point, just a couple reminders that we do on every council meeting. Please remain quiet and refrain from speaking. There's even language in here that says refrain from cheering, booing, or rude or obnoxious behavior. I don't anticipate any of that in here. I will tell you, though, now is a perfect time to take your cell phone out, as I am doing. Turn it down, turn it off, but we just don't want that to interfere with a council meeting. Now, you've all been warned, so when that phone goes off, everybody's going to turn and look at you and say, what is going on? So just a friendly reminder to do that. Want to turn those down, okay? And Madam Clerk?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. I have some announcements this evening. I'd like to remind everyone that the primary election is Tuesday, August 7th, and absentee ballot applications are now available at the city clerk's office. And the city clerk's office will be open on Saturday, August 4th at 9:00 a.m. for absentee ballot application and voting only. For the November 6th general election, Saginaw School District School Board candidates, their filing deadline is tomorrow, July 24th at 4:00 p.m. School board positions are for 3 full terms and 1 partial term. And candidates for the 4 positions on city council, they have a filing deadline of August 7th at 5:00 p.m. Council and school board candidates must file their appropriate documents with the city clerk's office. Mayor, tonight we have a proclamation. Is to recognize the 50th anniversary and to declare August 10th through the 12th of 2018 as Saginaw African Cultural Festival Weekend.
Okay, and I'm going to ask Dr. Dawn Hilton, President of the Saginaw African Cultural Festival, and the committee members. Please join her at the podium for me, please. It is with great honor and to be, I've done a number of these, but none of them had the big 50 on it.
Yes.
And so we're so excited about this. City of Saginaw Proclamation. Whereas the 50th annual Saginaw African Cultural Festival will be held August 10th through August 12th, 2018 at Morley Park, located at 2601 Lapeer in the city of Saginaw. And whereas art is a recognized medium for transmitting cultural values and knowledge to bridge the gap between diverse ethnic groups. And whereas this unique festival continues a tradition of 50 years of fostering artistic and cultural exchange through the media of creative expression. And whereas this cultural exchange is a key element in breaking down stereotypes and bringing the city's various populations together. And whereas the Saginaw African Cultural Festival is a collaboration between a grassroots cultural organization, the City of Saginaw, community agencies, social organizations, and hundreds of dedicated volunteers. And whereas the Saginaw African Cultural Festival has served the city for 50 years to claim the title of the longest ongoing Black Arts Festival in the nation. And whereas the festival offers a highlighted cultural consciousness and social awareness through guest speakers, entertainers, artists, exhibits, contests, and educational workshops. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Dennis D. Browning, Mayor of the City of Saginaw, here proclaim August 10th through the 12th, 2018, as Saginaw African Cultural Festival Weekend in the City of Saginaw, and urge all citizens of Saginaw to attend the 50th Annual Saginaw African Cultural Festival and join me in saluting the members of the Saginaw Black Cultural Alliance and the Saginaw African Cultural Festival Committee for their contributions to making this outstanding festival a local institution and an intricate part of the history and culture of Saginaw. In witness thereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Saginaw to be affixed this 23rd day of July in the year of our Lord 2018. Signed, Dennis D. Brownings, the Mayor. Mayor Pro Tem Floyd Clark, Michael D. Balls, Council Member, Annie Bench, Councilwoman, Clint Bryant, John Humphreys, John Milne, Brenda F. Moore, Damon L. Tibbs, and our city manager, Mr. Timothy Morales. Congratulations, and please step forward. Thank you for all your work that you guys do. You put in a lot of work. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, you guys. Put in a lot of work. Appreciate that.
Keep it up. Good work on the committee.
So beautiful. Just a few words. Indeed, this is our 50th year, and we are certainly excited about the festival that's coming up this year. We have a number of unbelievable events that are happening right in our small town of Saginaw, or our big town of Saginaw. We have the Ochihene of Ghana, from Kibi, Ghana, who is coming to Saginaw to celebrate with us our 50th year. And we are certainly appreciative of Councilwoman Brenda Moore's efforts to put together a welcoming ceremony. Could not have asked for a better partner. We certainly appreciate that. Angie Stone is also coming. She's a Grammy-nominated R&B artist. She's coming and she's performing a free concert for all festival goers. Wow. So we're excited about the opportunity to offer these free events for the residents of Saginaw County and the Great Lakes Bay region as well. And I've also sent personal invitations from me, Dawn Hinton, to each of our council members to not only financially support, but then also to support in simply your attendance. And so we look forward to seeing each of you out on the festival grounds sometime between August 10th and 12th. I'm going to be there all day, every day. So hopefully I'll see all of you guys there as well. Again, thank you so much for the acknowledgement.
Thank you so much.
Mayor, your next order of business is public hearing. We have one this evening. It's in regards to the request to establish an obsolete property rehabilitation district at 208 South Michigan Avenue.
And before I begin the public hearing, the purpose of the public hearing is for the public to address council as a whole and for council to receive comments for consideration when action may be taken. Speakers must limit their remarks to the subject of the hearing. Begin by stating your name. The main presenter or designated representative will be allowed 15 minutes. Other speakers will be limited to 5 minutes. Speakers may ask general questions, but shall not ask questions of individual council members, city staff, or the audience. And the public hearing is not a question and answer session. So with that, we begin our public hearing on the Absolute Property Rehabilitation District at 208 South Michigan. And Mr. Tom Miller, I see you're up at the podium ready to go.
I am, and I'll be brief, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor Browning, Mayor Pro Tem Clark, council members, Manager Morales. I'm Tom Miller with Saginaw Future, and I'm here to speak about the Obsolete Property Rehabilitation Act request before you tonight. The Obsolete Property Rehabilitation Act, or OPRA, provides for a tax incentive to encourage the redevelopment of obsolete buildings that are contaminated, blighted, or functionally obsolete. This requires a two-step process, the first of which, before you tonight, is to create the OPRA district, and the second step is to consider the actual application that will be filed at a later time. The OPRA law was enacted to encourage individuals or businesses to rehabilitate buildings which, without new investment, might be destined for demolition. This project, which you'll know if you're familiar with Old Town, it's across from the courthouse. It is the old Case Funeral Home. Alex DePerry, who is the president of Ann Arbor Builders, whose family is originally from Saginaw, he did the project located at the northeast corner of Court and Michigan, the old Pankin and Drug Store, and then a few other buildings. It's a really good story. The older generation of his family started to get sick and was getting very elderly. He ended up purchasing all of the property from his family. Hadn't been back to Saginaw in a while, but the first project that he did at the corner of Court and Michigan went so well that he started to look at other properties. And so I know John Stemple, myself, and the city manager have met with Alex a number of times. He has since purchased most of the block heading north on Michigan, and is renovating those buildings to do some apartments. And then this is the first project outside of that would be the old Case Funeral Home. He's gonna demolish part of the structure that was built, was an addition to the building, I think built sometime in the 60s. He's already been from before the Historic District Commission. That part of the building is unsafe and it's not historic, and will be demolished. It's just the back garage portion. But he's gonna renovate the funeral home for 23 market rate apartments, and has since expanded the project to include the commercial buildings on Michigan and on Court to build out those for commercial structure. So a good story, another investment. We just completed the DDA, the Downtown Development Authority, just completed a market retail study, and that was the #1 recommendation by the consultants that we hired, lack of housing in the riverfront as the top priority to try. And the demand is there, and we don't have the supply of additional residential units in the riverfront. And so this will add an additional 23 or 24 units. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else to speak reference the obsolete property rehabilitation district at 208 South Michigan? Again, is there anyone else to speak reference the obsolete property rehabilitation district at 208 South Washington? Third final call, is there anyone else that would like to speak reference the obsolete property rehabilitation district at 208 South Michigan? Being none, council members, I entertain the motion.
Move to close the hearing.
It's been moved and supported. Is there any further discussion by council members? Being none, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries.
Mayor, we are now at personal appearances.
And before we begin personal appearances, as we begin tonight's business, we welcome your thoughts and your input. If you come to the podium, please introduce yourself and state your home address. To be helpful, let us know if you are speaking solely or on behalf of a group. All speakers will have a 3-minute limit, which is timed by the clerk. So be sure to cover your main points. Hearing from the citizens we represent is very important to us. We ask that you speak slowly and clearly so that we don't miss what you have to say. Finally, since you are speaking as a representative of all our citizens, we ask you to be courteous and respectful to the members of the public present, to the citizens watching SGTV, and to this council so that we can give serious consideration to your concerns. All follow-ups will be referred to city staff. With that, Madam Clerk, our first personal appearance.
First personal appearance is Barbara Weiss. I do not see her. Next, we have Shatoris Jackson. Do not see her. Let's try Jamie Forbes.
And good evening, Council. I am Jamie Forbes. I live at 1604 Bay Street, and I'm also Director of Outreach and Program Development for STARS. And I appreciate the opportunity to speak tonight. I'm excited to tell you about a program that we have going on this election season that, of course, will impact all of you and all of the citizens in our service area. We are offering free rides on Election Day on all of our fixed route services, and we will also make sure that all of our disabled and retiree senior folks have access to the polls as well. We all know that voting is really important, but we would just like to do our part to make sure that this particular barrier is not a barrier this election season and every election season going forward. That's our plan. So we want to make sure that that all the folks in the service area know that they can ride for free on Election Day, both for the primary and the general election. If they would like to go ahead and schedule a Lyft ride, so that means for folks that fall under senior categories or are disabled and have our silver or gold card, they should go ahead and call STARS in advance and make sure that they schedule those appointments. We also know that this is the first year that we will be open past the closing of the polls. In previous years, we've closed early, but now we have longer times, and so that's no longer an issue. We will promise, though, that if anyone happens to be in line when the polls close, that we will make sure that they will have transportation home. And just because I have a little bit more time, I wanted to tell you about two other programs that we've got going on. One of them is Books on Buses. We're working with the Saginaw ISD to put bus boxes of books in all of our buses and also on the transit plaza so that people can grab a book while they travel, drop it back off wherever they happen to be. And they've been going fast, and so that's been going great so far. The other one is that we are trying our best to make sure that we are utilizing our resources to provide transportation for nonprofits in Saginaw. And so we will provide a service at cost because we are supported by taxpayer dollars. And so we really want to make sure that we are utilizing all of our resources in our downtime to make sure that we can get folks to our nonprofits as best we can. So that's all going on, but you know, I'm sort of new to this position, so please know that I'm always here. If there's anything that I can help you all with, if you've heard things from your constituents, I would always love to hear those. And so I've got some flyers, a smaller version of the one that I gave to you all. If you would like those to have on hand, just let me know and I'll make sure that you get some. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. I think you still have time left.
4 seconds.
Nope.
4 seconds?
You had 4 seconds left. You really did good, David.
Good.
Man, that's utilizing, there's an example of being prepared.
Our final speaker tonight is Debbie Melkonian.
Can I just report that?
No.
Got it cleared.
I'm kidding. Good evening. My name is Debbie Melkonian. I'm the president of the Edmonds Boulevard Neighborhood Association, but I'm speaking on behalf of Go High, Get Outside for a Healthy Inside. Just a quick note that the Southeast Wicks Park Neighborhood Association is up and running. The leadership is R.J. Burrell and Jose Ransom, and hopefully this Thursday at the citywide meeting, they will be introducing themselves and providing an update about Wicks Park and possible plans to get something in by the end of the summer. 4 years ago, as you know, Saginaw Valley awarded Go High a $25,000 scholarship and to help refurbish part of Wicks Park. At the end of next year, or next June rather, those students who nominated us will be graduating, and we would love to see something get done by then. An anonymous donor has given us $20,000 to redo the basketball court ground. We're running into some roadblocks because now we need to make sure there's an engineer that will look at the surface. We have been in touch with Spicer, and they would like to help us out and not charge us for that engineering service. So that's a good thing. We need to get with Phil Carwatt on that. The main thing is the issue of liability. Right now, every park in the city of Saginaw, either their equipment is not in good order or whatever, but kids are still playing. And I assume that the liability still rests within the city. So if a child does get hurt in a park, such as Wicks Park, with the equipment that is there, it is, again, I think, the responsibility of the city. And I know you'll get back to me on that. One of the biggest things, if you have ever looked at the Adopt a Park actual application, and look at that, it shows that the group that wants to adopt a park has to take full liability for the equipment that is replaced, installed, or whatever. So we're looking into that with, and trying to come up with some questions for our city attorney and get some answers to that so that we can move on with at least the basketball courts and new lighting and security cameras for that area. We'd love to have that done before the snow flies, and hopefully, definitely by next June. So one other question. We do have several residents that would like to clean up some of the yards that are around their houses, and I've been told that that is not permitted, that residents can't just clean up any old lot that they want. And I guess I'd like clarification on that soon, or whenever you get a chance. That's about, believe it or not, I might have 4 seconds left. So, thank you. Thank you.
You're now over.
It's now over, even if I use Jamie's 4.
You got the 4 seconds.
Thanks, you guys.
Mayor, you are now at remarks of council.
And I remind council members, you're limited to 5 minutes, and we begin with Councilman John Humphrey.
Well, good evening, everyone. 3 things that come to mind. Number one, I've had the opportunity to visit the SVRC marketplace multiple times since the grand opening. I was down there for the grand opening and it was so busy and packed that I didn't have the opportunity to see and enjoy anything inside the building. Since then, I've been back down repeatedly. I have been just really, really impressed with the caliber of the food that's being offered indoors. I purchased so much in the way of fresh fruits and vegetables from the vendors outdoors. But the most incredible thing that I have had the opportunity to observe is how crowded the place has been. 11 o'clock on a Saturday morning, it's packed. Lunch hours during the week, it's packed. Even 6 o'clock at night, just before they close, it was busy. If people wonder what's going on in Saginaw, point them towards the SVRC marketplace for an opportunity to enjoy some very, very good products and foods and services, but just to see some of the vibrancy that's coming back to downtown. The second thing, Jamie, I want to commend Stars for what they're doing. I'm reminded of the Pop the Poles event that took place a couple of years ago. I think Uncle Sam was there and did an absolutely wonderful job. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Whatever we can do to get the vote out is a great thing. And then I'm going to give shout out to somebody that's in the audience tonight. Artisan Urban Bistro opened several weeks ago, maybe even a couple of months ago at this point. New restaurant in Old Town on Hancock, part of the Grabner building. It's kind of shares a doorway, entryway in the back with Oracle Brewing. It's the kind of dining you would expect to see in a big, fancy metropolitan area. And I think that Donna and Larson, you've done a wonderful job with it. My wife had a pork chop down there and just absolutely loved it. She said it's the best pork chop she's ever eaten, and I can attest that she has eaten many pork chops. And then finally, we've got an audience full here. I am really, really happy to see all of you here. I hope perhaps you pick up a little something from your observations tonight. Perhaps a spark is lit and you decide that you want to get involved in city government and local government. There are ample opportunities. This is your city, after all, and it is through the citizens that this city is run. You elect, or will elect, if you're not 18 yet, You will be, but you will elect this council, and it's this council that works for you. So I'm glad to see you here. Welcome. Thank you.
Councilman Michael Balls.
Thank you.
I'd like to welcome the students here from the First Ward Community Center. I want all of you guys to know that I'm a First Ward Community Center kid myself. Played a lot of baseball there, basketball, and ate some sandwiches there a long time ago. They wasn't very good, now I think about it. But I know they done changed the menu there a lot, but I'd like to welcome you guys to the city council meeting today and hope that you will learn something to inspire you to maybe want to run for office one day yourselves. Yeah, I think when I first started visiting First Ward, it was 1965.
Old building.
About 1955, I was, yeah, so, wow, and it's still standing. So, it's good to see you people here, and I hope that you learn something to make you want to run for city council, or maybe even a higher job in the government, maybe a mayor or I'm president. You can do it. The qualifications are not that high right now, but I'm sure you guys can do a better job. So, please run. We need your help. I too visited the SVRC Center last week, and it's a beautiful place, outstanding. I was really surprised. I thought I was in a big city when I walked in there. I've been a few places, and it's gorgeous. So if you guys haven't had the opportunity to go down there, please go down there. They have some great food, a lot of different vendors. I even walked upstairs and seen the engineering firm up there. It was beautiful up there. I got the opportunity to talk to a young guy. He just happened to be the guy that did the design on it. And I got to talking to him and asked him what his last name was, and come to find out I used to work with his dad in the plant. So that was really amazing. His dad was a tool and die maker, and I was a pipe fitter, and it was good to know that his son is the engineer, so that, kind of goes on, that one skilled tradesman, next thing you know, got another skilled tradesman. So if you any guys interested in those fields, I would encourage you to get involved, because there's a lot of skilled trade jobs out there and a lot of people to fill those jobs. So if you guys want to make a lot of money, up to $80,000 to over $100,000 a year, I would advise you to get involved in skilled trade. Other than that, Mr. Mayor, I don't have any other comments. Thank
All
you very
right.
much.
Councilmember Clint Bryant.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, everybody. It's good to see our chambers full, packed tonight. So welcome, students. Some of you I remember from my days when I worked with Saginaw Public Schools, so it's good to see you guys again. Yes, lots of smiles. I just wanted to extend my congratulations to our 11 recruits from the Space Academy. That stands for, I had to Google it, Saginaw Police Appreciate Children Every Day. They graduated this past week, and that's great. It's awesome, very good to create those relationships. And congratulations to Officer Moore and Officer Harris for all their work. I know they put a lot of work into that. They're in my community, in my neighborhood. Jamie, great work that you are doing over at STARS. I'm so glad to see that we got this going on for this year. It's absolutely amazing. Not only just the primary election, but also for the general. That's great. And I will see you Thursday, because I'll be doing coffee hours again from 10 to 1, riding the STARS bus. And anybody is welcome to join me if you'd like. It's very fun. I just pack my cooler, talk about the city, and offer people a bottle of water. Simple, very simple. And I tell you, when it's 90 degrees, it's very appreciated. I had the opportunity to stop by the corner of Dearborn and South Hamilton, where the H.M. Boyd Community Garden just got a dose of love from Next to Automotive. They had 50 employees out for Global Service Day, and also they contributed $5,000 to a community garden in that Saginaw Southwest neighborhood. So congratulations to them, and thank everybody for their hard work. I had a chance to stop by the Hispanic Business Association. That is up and running again. They had some great ideas, just brainstorming. They see a lot of things that are happening positive in the city of Saginaw, so just trying to connect some of those dots. I had the opportunity to see Councilman Humphreys at one of his trips to the SVRC Marketplace. Remember to vote for the Marketplace for MML's Race for the Cup for the Community Excellence Awards. I've been plugging that as much as possible, because when we go to conferences or we go to conventions, people think of Saginaw a certain kind of way. And when you wear the Saginaw pin, we wear this Saginaw pin with pride. So we just want to showcase to some of our friends that are in other communities how great Saginaw is. and some of the awesome things that we have going on. I had the opportunity to stop by Friday Night Live, where my aunt and uncle, they live in the region, out in Freeland, but this was their first time in over 35 years in downtown Saginaw. Man, that made my heart feel so good to have them with me. But really, that's about it. Hope to see you guys at each of those Friday Night Lives on August 3rd. I will be singing the national anthem, so I hope to see you guys out there.
Councilwoman Brenda Moore, how do you follow that?
Come back to Paul. Good afternoon. DNR from First Ward Community Center. Glad to see y'all. It is always exciting to see young people come out and want to know and learn all about the ins and outs of the city. If you take nothing else away from your trip here or your visit, take this away. That all of the things that make a difference to change things start right here in this chambers. So, I'm gonna piggyback off of Councilman Balls. When you grow up, get 18, look at going to some type of politics or being involved in some type of group. But once again, I welcome you all, and I hope you had a good experience being here. On last Thursday, I had the opportunity to be in Ann Arbor representing the city of Saginaw with Michigan Municipal League. We now have $500 scholarships, so this is a challenge out to my fellow council people. You can actually complete level 1, and we will actually pay you to complete level 1, and we'll save the city some money. I just need my fellow council people to apply for it. You apply for it, I'm almost gonna make sure you're gonna get it, because I want us to complete our training. Ms. Deb, thank you as always. The park is starting to pick up out there, because I've been riding through it lately, and it is some things that is happening out there which are really, really good. Jamie, as always, thank you. Plan to get your flyers out, because there's people asking right now about, are you gonna do busing? So that's good that the bus system is doing it. And with that, Mayor, one more thing. The Black Arts Festival, we are gonna do a celebration. It'll be announced more about it later. It was not just my effort, it was the mayor, along with our city manager, who put it together. I don't wanna take all of the credit for it. I just asked. Then we had the staff in the office that worked on it, Miss Vicky and Miss Rachel, so I don't want to take all of the credit for that. But we do plan to honor and salute the king when he comes on August the 10th. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem, Lloyd Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, but it's getting harder and harder to follow
I know.
the acts ahead of me because they've covered everything.
Yep.
I will just briefly cover, say thank you to the students from the First Ward Community Center for the opportunity to speak with you, and to be with you during the earlier presentation this evening. I loved hearing some of the questions you guys asked. It was really good. I think there's a couple of you I talked to about civics and learning about your government. You've heard some of the earlier comments. It is really important. You are going to be the leaders of the future in our city. So that applies to employment, that applies to businesses, that applies to government. It applies to every aspect of our lives, social and cultural. So you will be those leaders. Learn, educate yourselves about what that means. The 50th year of the African American Cultural Festival is significant to our city. What you learned earlier about the operation of the city government is important. You heard about the finances. You've learned a little bit about how tough it is to run a city because of the cost of some of the operations. There's a lot more you can learn if you just ask the questions, look it up. It's important, and you are going to be the leaders. So having you here today is important, and thank you for being here. Go High. I do want to say, Ms. Deb, thank you for what you're doing, helping push the effort with Go High. Go outside for healthy inside is really significant. If the young ladies and gentlemen here from the First Ward Community Center don't know about it, it's a good thing to learn because it's your neighborhood associations that help the city itself with many of the operations. Go High is helping with the park. That's really important to the south side of the city. Those are the kind of things that you all can help with. So again, learn. With that, I think I'll just pass on to Councilwoman Bench.
Councilwoman Annie Bench.
Excuse me. Welcome to all of our First Ward students. It's wonderful to have you here, and I would agree with everyone who spoke before me, but that's all I have.
All right, and
Not even 10 seconds.
they kind of like that, so I'm not sure if I want to talk or not here. That just shortened up my speech, so a lot. But I do, once again, I want to thank the students from the First Ward Community Center for your program. It's not when you're going to be leaders, because you already are. You have influence on other people, whether it's family members, friends. You already have influence on other people. You are already leaders, and we're so proud of you. Glad that you're down here visiting with us today. Sorry for many of yous, I didn't get a chance to see you at 1 Week, 1 Street. This year I was unable to make it, but what a great program, and thank you for all that you're doing for our community. I did stop down to the Saginaw Marketplace today. I had a little bit of free time. At 12:15, I stopped into the market for a quick lunch. I left 2.5 hours later. I did not eat the whole time, I'll tell you that. I did not eat the whole time.
For real.
But there was a lot of people. I have a habit of coming up to people and saying, where are you from? One family was a man and woman from Prescott, Michigan. They're here in Saginaw because they have doctor appointments. And they heard about the SVR Marketplace. They wanted to come down, and the biggest thing they told me was, we're gonna be back and we're bringing our friends. And we have a lot of people from out of town who are now stopping in there, and coming downtown is just rewarding to see that happening. I love to get my lunch and then go invite myself to sit with people at some of the community tables there. It's always great, and so it's just, and we had a lot of people down there, but there wasn't a lot of lines. So you could get something to eat, very reasonable time. I mean, I tell you, that first week, boy, you had to wait in line. I mean, there was 20-minute wait to try to get them, but now it's very convenient, and a lot of vendors down there. So please, if you have not been down there, please make it a point to stop down and see what Saginaw has to offer to you. I have a lot of other things to talk about, but I'm not going to. I am going to pass this out real quickly, council members. This is an invitation reference. I'm going to personally pass these to you. Reference the celebration of the Reverend Dr. Roosevelt Austin Senior Day coming up. They have activities on Friday, August 17th, Saturday the 18th, and Sunday the 19th. So please, I'm hoping to make the banquet, but please, if we could have any council members that could help attend these events, please do so. We'd like to mark that wonderful occasion that we have down there. Madam Clerk, with that, we're ready for...
We are at reports from the city manager.
And Mr. Manager, what reports do you have for us today?
Thank you, Mayor. First, I would like to thank the coordinators from First Ward and the students as well. I think they asked really good questions over at the Public Works Department. So I think they were interested, and thanks for attending our meeting as well as that pre-meeting over there. Also, I did have an opportunity to go see how MSP works in the city last week, and I think they do a phenomenal job here in the city of Saginaw, and I thank all the troopers for the work they do, and probably will send something to Governor Snyder thanking him for their participation. And with that, I would also recognize the Saginaw Police Department for the cooperation that they work with the troopers as well, and I could tell you, I've worked in other communities, and local police don't always work well with Michigan State Police, and I think our officers do a great job with that. They've been accepting of it, and it's a great team effort they have in the city of Saginaw. At least 3 council members mentioned the SVRC Marketplace, so I'd remind you that they are in the running for an MML Community Excellence Award, so you can go online and vote for them. You can vote every day, so I encourage you to do that. Also, the citywide meeting, next citywide meeting is this Thursday, July 26th, hosted by Heritage Square Association at the First Presbyterian Church, 121 South Harrison Street, 5:30 to 7, and the guest speaker this month is from Saginaw County Mosquito Abatement. So they should have some good information. Also recognize our Saginaw Police Department School Resource Officers. They just finished the week-long Career Exposure Academy for kids 14 to 18 years old. So thank you to Officer Terrence Moore and Officer Deshaun Harris for hosting the event. We do have a few presentations this evening. There's one listed, but first I asked Tom Miller if he would give us an update on the Rifkin property, which was requested at the last council. I think Tom is ready to do that this week.
Welcome again, Mr. Miller.
Good evening, one more time. And I'll be brief. I know I personally get asked about this project pretty frequently. I'm on the Riverfront Commission, and just by regular citizens that heard about Rifkin relocating some time ago. I debated how far back to go. This one, I started Saginaw Future in 2007, and this project started in 2008. So it goes back 10 years. And in 2008, Saginaw Future assisted with securing a multi-million-dollar grant for the cleanup of the former bankrupt Ferromet site on Washington Avenue between 1st and 6th Street. Part of that EPA, Environmental Protection Agency grant, required that a private entity, a private company, invest in the site after the remediation work was complete. Rifkin at the time was fully built out at their site on Niagara Street in the city of Saginaw on the river, and needed room to expand. And so they committed to spending in excess of $8 million to relocate all of their facilities off the river on Niagara over to Washington Avenue. Part of that was always being sensitive of the neighbors in the area when any project is going to occur. We've facilitated meetings with the Northeast Neighborhood Association to ensure that the residents of the neighborhood were comfortable with the development and were able to add input about some of the aesthetics of the site. And that's why you see a large berm along Washington Avenue, because the residents wanted some trees planted and wanted a berm so that they could shroud the equipment that was going to be added. In 2008, we all know what happened, the Great Recession of 2008. Rifkin, like many other businesses at the time, put any future investments on hold. The market rebounded slightly in 2010, and the Rifkins were able to add $3 million at their present location on Niagara to install a new auto shredder residual plant, and the thought was to accommodate the move over to Washington Avenue. They're going to wind down their operations and with the new equipment and move it over to Washington Avenue. During the 2013 to 2015 timeframe, the scrap industry became hyper competitive, and there was compression in the market, and many scrap metal businesses went out of business, especially in Michigan. If you recall, you probably don't, but there was a lot of competition for steel. There was competition from foreign steel companies, and that really devalued the scrap material, and the margins got slim, and so it was a bad time in the industry. In 2015, Rifkin made the decision to downsize their company, which entailed selling off the plant on Washington Avenue, as well as selling operations that it owned in Lansing and Traverse City. This was a very difficult decision for the company to make, but tough times call for tough decisions to be made. Part of the reason why they did that was Saginaw is their home, and they wanted to deleverage the company from debt that they had to accommodate the move over to Washington. Fast forward to today, June of 2018, business is much better. We met with them in June. We've met with them consistently over the years and kept the manager in the loop on those conversations, but they're leaner and meaner, and the scrap industry is doing much better. They are on sound financial footing, and they're doing much better. They're engaged with Spicer Engineering for site design work over on Washington Avenue. They submitted the plans on June 26th at the June 26th Planning Commission meeting, and that plan was approved pending the city engineering review. We worked with Beth London and Phil and did heard back on a couple of items for the new site plan. Removal of an entrance along Washington Avenue on the new site. The relocation of a pond on the west end of the property, and a few different minor water sewer hookup issues. They are ready to start pulling permits. The goal is to have occupancy at the new site on Washington before 11/15/18, so that's this year still. And the reason why they are trying to hit that deadline is because they were given a 10-year brownfield tax credit. And so in order to fully realize the benefits of that tax credit, they need to be moved by the end of the calendar year, and they fully intend to be at their new location on Washington Avenue by the end of the year. Once they've relocated, demolition on Niagara will start in late fall, and they will begin operations on Washington. As soon as they can receive the final approval and from the engineering office, they will begin the actual transition of moving the equipment, winding down their operations, and relocating to Washington Avenue. They have signed contracts of construction for all of their office, warehouse, truck scales, electrical work that needs to be done on site, and the contractors are all ready to begin work. So this has been a long project, a goal of the riverfront, something that we've really worked at with the city manager and groups like the Washington Avenue Group, knowing that the riverfront is an asset to Saginaw, but that we've had some incompatible uses along the river. And we want those businesses to stay in the city of Saginaw, but they're probably a more industrial area that they better equipped to be relocated to. And so I can answer any questions. Dave wished he could have been here. He had a family engagement that he couldn't skip, or his wife he would be in big trouble with his wife. But they sort of the end of the story is that they will be out by November of this year, and next year they'll be demolishing. Part of the brownfield plan calls for them to demolish all of the buildings that are in their current site on Niagara, remove a couple of feet of topsoil, cap it with clean topsoil so that there is no residual scrap metal and those kind of things left on the site. And then they fully intend to redevelop the site as a commercial property. There are some issues with floodplain and wetlands that we are aware of and are working to deal with, but that is the plan.
Council members, comments, questions?
I had a question.
Go ahead.
So, Riffin gonna keep the land and they're gonna redevelop it, or?
Yes, and that was part of the original agreement in 2008 was they wanted to maintain ownership of that property.
Okay. Any other questions, Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you. Are we able to work with them to try and keep a right-of-way for a trail?
Yep, I've already talked with Dave about that. We've, again, the city manager and I working, and Jeff Klopsick and a few other folks like because we don't have a recreation department, try and keep these things in mind. We did so when the city did a long-term lease for the AT&T parking lot. We maintained an easement there. We worked with SVRC when the DDA sold the property to the marketplace and maintained an easement for a right-of-way. Now, of course, we don't own the property, but Dave has said he is willing to consider installing an easement once everything is wound down so, because the west side is severely lacking, the east side has a really nice loop and park-like setting, Potoff Park, and the west side's not the greatest now, but that's long-term plan, yes.
Good, thank you.
One more question.
Yep.
Behind Rifkin, is it a pond back there?
Yes, I mean, there's, it's a wetland, but there's birds, ducks, geese, deer, between the railroad tracks and Covenant
So
Hospital.
they're gonna have to keep that there then, right?
Yep, yeah, that's, it says in the National Wetland Inventory, so any, if you were gonna, this is what happened with our friends up at the Menard property. If you decommission any part of the wetland, normally they make you, for every acre, they normally make you do it like 3 or 5 or even 7 to 1 replacement ratio, which we all know is pricey.
Okay. Any other questions? Mr. Miller,
Thank you.
Mr. Manager?
Thank you, Tom. So our second presentation is from Brian Leckel, who is the Director of Saginaw County Parks. And this was, I think, requested at a previous meeting as well. And Brian has updated City Council before. So with that, I'll turn it over to him.
Council members, this has been emailed to you, and you have your own copies that you can draw upon if you'd like.
Good evening. Thank you. My name is Brian Keenan-Leckel, Director of Saginaw County Parks, and just as the manager said, appreciate the opportunity to talk just a little bit and briefly tonight about the county Parks and Recreation Department's impact in the city of Saginaw. We currently manage 6 park facilities and over 27 miles of non-motorized pedestrian pathway. And next year will be a big milestone for us, 50 years. The commission was developed in 1969. And that's important to keep in mind as you look at where our parks are placed and when they were placed in the 70s and the 80s, really spread throughout the county in a somewhat developing Saginaw Township at the time, as well as across the county in some more rural areas, because in the 70s and 80s, Saginaw City had a fantastic recreation department, 31 parks and multiple recreation centers, and so why recreate the wheel when there were other residents to be served? And the kind of point I think of today's discussion is just to highlight, we know that is not the case currently, and resources are thin, in the city, and recreation oftentimes is one of those first cuts, unfortunately. So in 2014, when County Parks asked for a millage increase, our first in over 20 years, among other commitments, one was to operate a park within the city, and I'll talk just briefly about that a little more later. Another millage commitment that was made in 2014, when going out for that increase, was to eliminate gate fees at Immerman Memorial Park and Haithco Recreation Area, the 2 parks that we had previously charged gate fees at. Keep a number in mind. 7,500 vehicle entries that summer of 2015. The millage did pass, it was successful, 65 to 45, but it did not take effect until the summer of 2016 with the budget years and the way those lined up. So 2015 was our last summer charging gate fees, and we had 7,500 vehicle entries. 2016, our first summer without gate fees. We have this fantastic Recreate Saginaw County Parks Pass, available to place a small square on your park's windshield your first time through the gate, place it on your vehicle. Next time through, our staff is just going to wave you right on through. And again, 2016, our first year of waiving gate fees, we started handing these out. Currently, to date, we've given out over 20,000 of these stickers. One of my favorite things to do is walk down the Meijer aisles and count up our park users and celebrate that. But it was a really great program, and one we knew we would see an increase. We knew folks were going to come out in higher numbers, but we did not expect anything like this. You can see here, well, maybe you can't see it, so I'll tell you, a little bit small, but in 2016, we had 14,700 vehicle entries at those two parks. And we use an estimate of 3.5 folks per vehicle. Occasionally we do have obviously folks coming in by themselves, but a lot of times it's a van with, a few kids, and I've seen 7 get out of a small Buick before and been surprised. But so 14,000 vehicle entries in 2016, equates to many residents utilizing the parks. In 2017, 18,000 vehicle entries last summer in our parks. And I can share with our initial numbers in 2018, the month of June alone, we had 7,650 vehicle entries between Immerman and Haithco Recreation Area. So that's more than we did all of 2015. So we anticipate hitting the 20,000 vehicle entry number this summer. Which is great. One other nice thing about the Recreate Saginaw County Parks Pass is that it also allows us to track where in the county our patrons are coming from. And so I can show pretty real data on, based on your zip code that is on your driver's license, where in the county our patrons are coming from. And this is a combined entry total of 2017 between Haithco and Immerman. And you can see actually our largest user group overall is zip codes from the city of Saginaw at 39%, closely followed by our other larger population group, Saginaw Township, and then the other areas of the county are kind of grouped together by direction, out to the Carlton and Freeland, kind of the north end of the county, Milwaukee area. We go out west with Thomas Township, Hemlock, Merrill, and then to the southeast as well. But if this was just Haithco, you would see that number of city users almost closer to 50%, between 45 and 50%, depending on the year. So this to say, city residents do realize and do utilize our county facilities. That being said, I recognize, I'll be the first to recognize that, not all residents, city or otherwise, have the capacity to or should have to get in a vehicle or a bus and travel 5 miles to recreate, to enjoy a park facility. So in 2016, we started to look at how we might be able to bring recreation to our various residents, city included. And we worked very closely with some of the Saginaw neighborhood associations that have these 30 kind of pocket neighborhood parks that I mentioned earlier, and we developed some programming. This summer, although we did have kind of some pilot programs and we've been doing work, this summer we're really realizing and really getting out with even more programs. We purchased an old ambulance and actually repurposed it into a recreation mobile. You can see it there. With the smiley face on it, and then the side, a nice colorful wrap around it. That keeps all of our program supplies self-contained in one unit, and we're able to take that out this summer 39 times, not just to our facilities at Immerman and Haithco and other areas in the county, but also specifically to some city facilities and working with those neighborhood associations. Again, Otto Rosser Park, Veterans McKinney, Fordney Park, Bliss Park, Dindorfer Woods, and Hoyt Park. We're offering, again, 39 programs, everything from Gaga Ball. If you don't know what that is, come out and check it out. It's a great time and a fun activity for all ages. Creative, build-it type activities, art in the park, 9 square in the air, supersize the fun, parachute games, hang time, these type of simple facilitated programs. But the really neat thing about it is that kids and families are actually walking out to their park. They're not driving 5-6 miles away to enjoy recreation. They're physically coming off their front porch and into the parks. And although it's great when we are able to be there, and we're there sometimes twice a week in some of these facilities, the overall goal is that maybe they'll meet a friend at one of these programs and say, we could probably do this tomorrow too, even if we won't be there. This is our park and this is our neighborhood, and they get used to walking down the street to their park and utilizing that resource. So we've seen, I'm going to share just some photos as I talk about the numbers, but we've had some really great turnouts at Otto Rosser. We had a Build It play date with 55 attendees, and then we brought Gaga Ball out and had 42 attendees. At Veterans McKinney, we had 32 come play Gaga Ball with us. Fordney Park, we had 45 playing Gaga Ball. This is the Build It program there. And at Bliss Park, the Build It play date had 87 participants, so almost an overwhelming crowd there, almost 100, and a really great turnout. In addition, you'll see here the fire truck in the background. Great support from City of Saginaw Fire Department. Came out to enjoy some Gaga Ball with the kids, and the kids certainly loved to get to see the fire truck up close, and obviously meet some of our firemen and women that help to keep our city safe. So we really appreciate that support as well. And we've certainly seen officers stop by when they're in the area as well. Just happen to have some great photos of the fire department enjoying those. In addition to that, those kind of play date style programs, we've also, this is now our third year partnering with Friends of Hoyt Park to try and redevelop and bring back the Hoyt Park Youth Baseball League. Happy to report we had a great showing this year with a 24-team league and over 290 participants. Again, a partnership with Friends of Hoyt Park. The county handled all of the registration and organizing onto teams, but recruitment was done with that volunteer board as well. It's not just city residents in that program. In fact, we have entire teams coming down from Carlton or Hemlock and in other areas, but we do have a large core of city residents that are enjoying this 5-week 10-game baseball league at the cost of $20 per participant. So a low-cost baseball league. Tuesdays and Thursdays at Hoyt Park. If you haven't been down there yet, take a drive down. 290 participants means with parents, spectators, well over 500 people utilizing a beautiful park resource in Hoyt. And one worth mentioning that was, repurposed by that Adopt a Park program and a great volunteer board that still, is participating actively. So. Youth Baseball League is happening again. Photo of our coach pitch league there, a coach volunteer right from work, throwing some pitches out there. In addition to the baseball league program and some of the other programs we're bringing to the park, we also try and provide some sponsorship support or resource support where we can for great activities happening in the city. At Hoyt Park in particular, bringing back the ice. We've been a major sponsor there the last 2 years and plan to continue. The Saginaw Outhouse Race is a silly event that's happened now for, I think, 5 or 6 winters. Been involved in that. Holidays in the Heart of the City, Saginaw Area Fireworks, Saginaw African Cultural Festival, the Lawn Chair Film Festival, Harvest Days at the Saginaw Farmers Market, the Row Ride Run event, which just finished its 2nd year back in June, a very unique urban triathlon that you don't see in many cities at all, let alone right here in our town. So we saw some growth in that event in a fundraiser for our Great Lakes Bay Regional Trail Group, which is putting trail development all over and can and will provide support to the city, I think, when it's time to do so. So some great programming activities as well happening. I mentioned earlier briefly a county park development in the city. Again, I think maybe a more formal presentation or to talk about this in a little more detail in the future would be great, but I'll just again show a brief sketch of the former Malleable Iron property, 332 acres in the Southwest Neighborhood Association with a half-mile of Saginaw Riverfront corridor, really at the creation of the Saginaw River where the Shiawassee and Tittabawassee come together, literally thousands of miles of watershed forming the Saginaw River and running through our city, an area that the city first recognized as a blighted area that something needed to be done with. And the city, actually, when I first started at the county 4 years ago, 3.5, considering acquisition of that property, really highlighted some of the liability concerns there and maybe that some additional partners were going to be needed, not just the county. And so that kind of started this, got the ball rolling on this project and got the state involved. The Michigan Department of Natural Resources is currently hoping to wrap up acquisition by the fall, and the county has agreed to sign a 30-year lease on the property to operate it as a county park. When we say passive recreational facility, we mean hiking and biking trails, observation platforms, fishing access, but ultimately removing a blighted property, opening it back up to public usage and access, and forever protect it based on some of the grants that are being involved. So the state has agreed to acquire it and lease it to the county at no cost, and they've also applied for and received two $290,000 Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund grants to develop that property once the acquisition takes place. So that has been a long time in the making, certainly, but progress is being made, and we're excited about that project as well. Last thing I'm going to mention, I promise, is grant support that the county has provided to the city. another benefit in terms of recreation, how we can impact simple things and up to some larger scale things as well. The first one is a bicycle rack project. I met with a few folks, maybe even a couple years ago now, but just talking about getting bike racks installed in the city again, into some key areas. And we've got a photo of a sample up there right now, 2 or 4 actually, that have been installed at the SVRC Marketplace in the Farmers Market. Beautiful Saginaw U-racks, you can lock your bike right to those. They were purchased with the county applied for and received a Saginaw Community Foundation grant totaling $7,000. The county matched that, and the DDA and DSA have committed to putting a little bit of matching fund in as well to not just purchase and install those racks, but then to have a maintenance fund. So in 5 to 10 years, if they need to be powder coated again, or one gets hit maybe by a vehicle or something, needs to be replaced, we have that maintenance fund available to purchase additional racks, maybe look at other beautification projects, that kind of thing. But a great partnership, and again, 4 of those have been installed, 36 more are waiting to be. I was riding my bike with my brother, who's a big bike advocate in Kalamazoo, and asking for his input on location. He's like, it's easy, put one there and there and there and there. And literally you can't go wrong. So we're excited to have those projects and those bike racks getting installed. And that was just kind of one small starting grant to get some bike racks in the community. Second one, Wicks Park was mentioned earlier, and the long-term kind of potential to convert about 1.5 miles of Wicks Park Drive to a non-motorized pedestrian pathway between the boat launch and like the soccer field on the north side there. The county and the city teamed up or combined their Iron Bell Round 2 funding. The city just over $23,000, and the county just over $21,000 to actually complete the engineering for that project. So Spicer is working through the final steps of that now, and once completed, the city would have documents that would support a MDOT TAP grant proposal, something like that, and have these bid-ready documents ready to go, and save the project money in the long run. And that was combined grant resources from the county and city. And finally, and maybe most substantial in terms of cost, would be the Ojibwe Island Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund project, which is currently out to bid right now. The county provided a $105,000 match of that grant to the city of Saginaw, which is actually being paired with their own matching funds, and the city was able to expand the scope of that grant. So focused on adding a non-motorized pedestrian trail. If you've ever been on the island when it's busy, you can't really ride your bike or walk safely in that roadway because there's so many vehicles. So you can see the path that would be established on the west side, also repurposing or resurfacing the pedestrian bridge off the north end, bathroom, restroom, the restrooms, and also the it's eluding me right now. When bands come and they need an area, they go into the changing room and that kind of thing. So that whole building being repurposed and refurnished is great for Ojibwe Island as well. And again, we continue to work closely. Phil Carwat and I talk weekly, if not more frequently, and some of you as well. I try and be involved as much in recreational and otherwise impact in the city as I can, and I really enjoy my work here and everywhere across the county. But I do think and do want you all to know that city residents are utilizing our park systems, and we are attempting to bring some of that a little closer to home as well. In fact, the folks behind us, I think maybe a few weeks ago, you guys were out at Haithco, is that right? I think Jordan came to talk to you, and then we hosted a little recreational outing at Haithco with some boat rentals and things like that, and just kind of getting folks back into the parks. So I think that is all I had. Wanted just a minute for questions and feedback, if there is any.
Council members, question?
I just want to commend you on doing such a good job with the parks, and keep up the good work. And another question was, do you guys work with Morley Park?
I have worked with that group quite a bit with the African Cultural Festival I mentioned. We've provided, I guess, a sanitary sponsorship, porta-johns and hand wash stations for that festival. We've also done a little bit of minor work, and not just that group, but a lot of the adoptive park groups. The the trail system that is out there, the small wooded area. We worked with an individual to come in and clean that up a little bit a few years back before the festival, helped to coordinate some of the community foundation spring into service day activities. I think we had about 50 students out there one spring, and they have a long-term vision that we will recognize and place into our 5-year recreation plan that we're currently updating, and hopefully that may help with future grant applications and that type of thing. But again, not just Morley, but also Ms. Boulware out at that's McKinney, and Larry down at Friends of Hoyt, and the Wicks Park group there as well. So Sharon Dinsey from Go High. I get a lot of emails and phone calls, from folks hoping we can help.
I asked because I was wondering, was it be feasible for the county parks or the city parks to take over that land as the part that's owned by the school system?
Sure. So the one thing I guess I didn't mention is we do all of this with a somewhat tight budget as well, and 5 staff members and about 5 full-time staff and about 30 seasonals. And our budget is relatively tight. So what we look at in terms of acquisition when we're approached with that type of possibility is what they may have planned for, let's say, long-term sustainability, especially the maintenance cost of, and what that may be, and if we can make it feasible. One thing that made the Malleable Iron Project a little more appealing was the commitment of a national nonprofit called the Nature Conservancy to fundraise a $500,000 endowment to be held at the Community Foundation that's going to pay $30,000 annually for those maintenance costs. So it's that type of setup and development that makes it easier for me and ultimately the Parks Commission to say yes to those types of opportunities. But it's definitely something we would help them work to and help them develop and consider. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Brenda.
Do you do anything in the First Ward area, in the project? It's a park right there, right off of Washington.
Unity Park, yep. We have not hosted a program in that park this summer, but would definitely be open to it. Essentially what we did when we developed the program vehicle idea was went to I think the All Neighborhood Association meeting and got folks that may be interested, didn't just have the space, but also had the ability or the time to help us market it. So at Otto Rosser, the Heritage Square Association, they go door to door with our flyers and hand those out and say, they're coming on Tuesday, we hope to see you there, that type of thing. And assuming that could happen at Unity Park, we'd absolutely be willing to host there as well, definitely.
So then we need to make contact.
Yeah, I brought business cards
so that
and
we can actually start to do the process in that area as well.
You got it. I brought business cards as well as the remaining summer programs that we have coming up. One that I'll mention in the city that's going to be a really big turnout, I think, and a great success is our partnership with the Saginaw Children's Zoo, Zoovie Night. We're going to show Zootopia at the Children's Zoo, free admission on August 24th. Free admission, I believe, starting at 7 p.m., and then we'll start that movie at dark. But I'll pass those out as well as my business card, so folks can have those.
You can give them right to the clerk. That'd be fine. Any other questions, council members?
Here,
I'm looking at this, you okay? I won't forget you. I'm looking at this last photo here, thinking that when that comes back to White Park, let us know. Council members would be involved in a little competition. I think we should like to see council members go down on those. In fact, I would
Challenge, are you challenged?
I would challenge the city council versus the county commissioners to a race down that hill.
I buy into that.
So when you go back to the county commissioners, let them know that the city council is challenging them at White Park to go down that wonderful slide there.
And winner takes all. What we all gonna do?
Okay, Councilman Humphries, how do you follow that?
Well, you stole my thunder because I was going to ask, number one, will it be set up anytime soon? And number two, can adults use it?
So this was actually one of the first 3 years ago.
I haven't seen
We did a movie night here when we first got that equipment, and we did the water slide. You can see it didn't work quite as planned. You could go down quite a bit, but the water splashed up between the tube, so you were soaked pretty much from chest to knees by the end of the time, definitely. But I will definitely let you know. And we could sled in the winter time, though. We know that'll be there and always available. So
are you insinuating that the commissioners are a little wussy on getting wet?
Yeah.
We don't have any problem.
Not at all.
City
not at all.
council is not afraid to get wet. wet, I'm telling that right now.
Or dirty, for that matter.
We've been treading water a long time, we're okay.
Tread water.
Got that.
Any other questions?
No, thank you.
Brian, thank you so much for this update, and we always look forward to you
Thank you.
and your presence here in the city. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Brian, and that concludes the management update.
Madam Clerk,
Questions?
any questions for the manager? Council members, questions for the manager? Being none, we can move on.
Very good. Mayor, you are now at the consent agenda.
Okay, and I am announcing that the agenda's been available at City Hall and on city's website and on SGTV Channel 191. Yes, for those that are sitting in the audience, you have been on TV since you walked in. Cameras are located behind me on both sides and one in the back. So you can actually go to our website in a few days and you're gonna be able to pull up this council meeting and watch yourselves. So just letting you know that that has been occurring. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda, leaving room for exceptions. It's been moved and supported. Are there any exceptions? These are items 1 through 10 for your, any exceptions? Being none, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries.
We are now at reports from boards, commissions, and committees, and appointment of board and commission members.
And is there any council member that needs to report from any of the commission or boards they serve on verbally? Any reports? Being none, let's move on then. We have some appointments. We have 2 mayoral appointments and 1 appointment that's council. What's your pleasure on these appointments?
All at once.
Move to approve, leaving, well, we don't need room for exceptions. Move to approve all 3.
That's right. Support.
Been moved and supported. Is there any further discussion? Being none, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries.
We are at introduction of ordinances. We do have one. It's an ordinance to adopt the general revisions to and compilation of the City of Saginaw Code of Ordinances.
Need a motion to introduce?
So move.
Support?
Is there any further discussion? Being none, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries, and the ordinance is laid over under charter, under charter provisions.
Mayor, you are at resolutions. Our first one is to establish an obsolete property rehabilitation district at 208 South Michigan Avenue.
Need a motion to adopt.
So move.
Support?
Been moved and supported. Is there any further discussion? Being none, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries.
Our second resolution is approving a small winemaker license at 417 Hancock Street.
So moved.
Support.
Been moved and supported. Is there any further discussion on the small winemaker's license at 417 Hancock? Being none, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries.
Our third and final resolution is to recognize the Hospital Hospitality House of Saginaw as a nonprofit organization for the purpose of obtaining a charitable gaming license.
So move.
Support.
Been moved and supported. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Being none, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries.
Mayor, you are now at motions of miscellaneous fifth.
Is there anything to come before the council members? Council, our Mayor Pro Tem Floyd Clark.
Yes, as a result of the block grant recommendations we had in the last several months, there was some discussion between myself, the mayor, and the manager regarding a committee to try and establish some, as a result of the absence of city council policies for future consideration by the planning commission. So I would like to see if, Mr. Mayor, if we could have the committee appointed to do that.
I see no reason why we couldn't put a committee of members together for the purpose of addressing that issue and working with the housing, or not, the
Human planning.
planning commission.
Human planning.
Yep.
I'll sit on that committee.
I'll sit on that committee, and I thought we had a committee already together.
It was never
We
organized.
we've met before. on the same issue, so.
Well, we met on our goals and our values, and
Okay,
now
so,
this committee is taking that one step further and working on presenting it with the planning commission.
I want to sit on the committee.
Okay, I got 1, 2, and 3, and I got 4, that's enough, we cannot have 5, because that would make a quorum, and we can't have a quorum. So 5 would be the majority of the council members, and we cannot do that without having an official council meeting, so 4 is that. So, we do have 4, and, I'll ask that, our Mayor Pro Tem, Clark, chair that, if you don't mind, council members, until you meet and select somebody different. Otherwise, we'll have that as our head person to, okay? Any other business to come before the council? Any other business to come council? Being none,
Motion to adjourn.
have motion to
Support.
adjourn and support. Is there any discussion on the motion? Being none, all in favor signify by aye. Aye. Those opposed, we're adjourned.